Good evening, brothers and sisters. 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 rectal cancer. I received 28 radiation treatments and 34 chemotherapy sessions. And the first radiation that I had, I arrived at the hospital feeling sad. But the Lord comforted me so greatly that when I left this first chemo session, the brother Carlos Alberto was there at the hospital and he told me, don't worry because the Lord already healed you. And I did the treatments for about a year and a half, and I always went to the hospital happy and joyful because the Lord had already spoken to me. And instead of not looking well, I gained weight. I weighed 100 kilos, and nobody ever found out that I had cancer. And at the end, after the chemios and radios, the doctor told me that I didn't have cancer, but that he would be performing a surgery. And by the grace of God, I asked the doctor how long would I have the colostomy, and he said minimum 12 months or for the rest of your life. And the Lord was so great that he comforted me because after 27 days, the doctor told me that he will be removing the colostomy bag. And the Lord always comforted me. And I was sent to a psychologist. And the day I arrived at the psychologist, I asked him, what was I there for? And he said, that's what I want to ask you. And I said, yes, I have cancer, but before you speak, I'm going to tell you that cancer isn't death, and I'm not crazy, and I'm not going to jump in front of a car or even from a ninth floor. I have God in my heart, and I know that the Lord already healed me. So the psychologist said to me, you can leave with no worries. I'm not going to speak nothing else. And at the end, when I finished everything, the Lord comforted me because He gifted me a trip to Europe, all expenses paid, with an insurance I had as a result of the illness. And all of this, I give thanks to God because He gave me the victory. The glory and honor is for the Lord.
I'd like to testify to glorify and exalt the name of the Lord. About a year ago, I received a prophecy in which I was told that I would have a health problem, but that I should not worry because I would be healed. And in June of last year, I had an accident in which I fractured my spine in 5 different places. So I went to the doctor, and the result of the tests and the doctor's opinion was not promising. And I was given the news that it would be impossible for me to walk for at least a year. So I underwent surgery, and to my surprise, after 15 days, I took my first steps, and as of today, I am walking perfectly. I testify to glorify the name of the Lord.
Today I'm going to testify to magnify the name of my Heavenly Father. For over 10 years I struggled with alcoholism. My life was dominated by this vice and by my own free will. Yet in His mercy, God spoke to me through prophecy. The Lord made me a promise to deliver me from all the vices. But I was rebellious. I wanted to do my own will, not God's will. Although God spoke to me in His mercy, I continued to persist in my own ways, relying on my own strengths and drifting further away. Eventually, I hit rock bottom. With time, I hit rock bottom. I lived on the streets for 6 months, and I was completely lost. My body could no longer function without alcohol. My condition grew steadily worse. Several clinics refused to admit me, stating that given the severity of my addiction, I would likely suffer permanent mental or physical impairments following the detoxification and that I might not even survive. I reached such a depth of suffering that I no longer wanted to live. I was enduring an unbearable situation. From a human standpoint, I was defeated. It was then, from the very depths of my heart, I said to the Lord, let your will be done, not mine. I can no go any further on with my own strengths. And that was the moment when everything began to change. I underwent a detoxification in the hospital. There were 2 grueling days, but I was more dead than alive. But God fulfilled his promise. He began to perform his work, not according to my strength, but according to his power. After those 2 days when I regained consciousness, it was as if I were a completely different person. The staff were astonished. They said they never thought that I would recover so well after the detoxification. And finally, they accepted me to continue the treatment. Throughout that entire process, God confirmed his word. I experienced no withdrawal symptoms, nor did I suffer from anxiety about drinking. I did not feel the desire or compulsion towards alcohol. That was when I understood that it was not a human effort, but the perfect work of God, fulfilling what he had promised in prophecy. Today, for the glory and honor to God, I have been sober for 14 months, standing firm. I learned that as long as we insist on our own will, we make no progress. But when we surrender and obey to God's work, he works with power. I share this testimony because God keeps his promises. He delivers and his word is true. I testify all of this to magnify the name of our Heavenly Father.